Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Rantoinette. We're doing a little news roundup where I'm covering all of the stories that I missed over the last week, and there were plenty. Before I get into it, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out in the algorithm, and I'll sing you praises, and I will dance at your wedding. So let's just get into it. I want to get through a whole bunch of topics. I don't know if you guys were familiar with this. This is like at the beginning of the week. I'm kind of going in chronological order here. But J.D. Vance is being interviewed by Maria Bartiromo on Fox News, and she asked him a really interesting question. Let's have a listen.
Of this Qatar facility, people are wondering, is this an air base? What is Qatar going to be developing in Idaho?
Yeah, I saw some reporting about this, Maria. I actually talked to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, this morning. This is largely a fake story. We continue to have with countries that we work with. We have relationships where, sometimes their pilots work on our bases, sometimes that we train together, sometimes we work together in other ways. The reporting that somehow there is going to be a Qatari base on United States soil, that's just not true. We are continuing to work with a number of our Arab friends to ensure that we are able to enforce this peace, but we're not going to let a foreign country have an actual base on American soil. So there was a bit of misreporting on that, as there often is, as you know, Maria.
So fake news. He said he talked to old Pete Hegseth. Let's see what Pete has to say.
We're announcing or signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability.
So, okay, apparently they did not have that kind of conversation. They had a little chat, but they didn't have the right chat, or they didn't, sync up. Honestly, these guys need to really put their heads together, but it's looking pretty goddamn dumb. Nevertheless, the whole idea of Qatar giving $400 million plane to Donald Trump, which is going to cost like $500 million to retrofit. So it will end up being over $1 billion plane for Donald Trump to use. And because he's only going to be able to use it while he's president. Does that mean that he's not going to be president for life? Whatever. That's just a different conversation altogether. But I just wanted to get to that. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this woman named Mallory McMorrow. She is a congresswoman, and now she wants to run for Senate in Michigan. And she is asked actually a pretty good question, and she turns it into like a comedy skit, kind of like a little stand-up jaunt. I don't know what the hell's going on. It doesn't really play well.
Now, I said it the way that I said it because some people conflate Medicare for all with universal health care. But Medicare for all, when it's actually defined, is one singular government-run healthcare system that we are all on. Now, I want you to imagine what that would look like with Donald Trump and RFK Jr. at the head of it. You have this man who just last week held a conference saying that anybody who has been circumcised probably has autism because they probably took Tylenol. This is a man who decapitated a whale and dropped a dead bear off in Central Park, who works out. I don't know if you've seen this, and I know it's the pettiest thing to complain about RFK Jr. about. He works out in jeans. There has to be so much chafing. I don't trust that man to make medical decisions for my family. So we have to get to a place where there is a real, legitimate public option. And if you want to opt into another private health insurance, that you should have the freedom to do that.
There's the point that I'm trying to get to right there. She's talking about Medicare for all and single payer health care as if those are two different things. You get free health care at the point of service. She's talking about accessibility and more affordable health care. She's not talking about Medicare for all. She is doing everything she can to kind of crisscross those things. What she wants is you to have freedom to choose between a healthcare plan which is free at the point of service, which, by the way, every other major country across the fucking planet has figured out by now. But she wants you to have a choice. You have a choice. This is America. You get a choice. You get a choice between free at the point of service And you pay for it through your tax dollars because it's not fucking free, even though everybody's like, you can't have free healthcare. It's not free. You pay for it with your taxes. But what she's trying to conflate, you have on one side, you have the actual free at the point of service healthcare, where we have an actual Medicare for all single payer system. She doesn't want that. She wants you to have affordable healthcare and access to better healthcare if you want it. And then, of course, she turned the whole damn thing into a comedy skit with RFK and Donald Trump, telling little jokes with a brick wall behind her back and making it seem like, she's doing a little stand-up, at the Comedy Cellar or something like that. This is the guy she's running against, Abdul El Sayed. He is a proper progressive running for Senate in Michigan. He believes in Medicare for all, the actual single payer healthcare system where it is free at the point of service. Don't let them use the buzzwords, the obfuscation, the whole, trust me, I'm going to get you access to healthcare, to really good, affordable healthcare. Look, I live in New York City. I've got access to go over to 11th Avenue and look at Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Porsches, and they're all very easily accessible to me. All I got to do is just go up there and get one, except for the fact that I don't have $1 million to buy one of those things. So I have access to it, but I can't get it. So I want to move on here. We've got Senator Ron Wyden. He is talking to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and he makes a very valid point here about the current predicament that we're in with Donald Trump and all the tariffs and the fact that prices are going up.
Like Walmart, Mattel, and Ford have all suggested they're going to need to raise consumer prices as the tariffs hit them. Some companies have already had to raise prices, like Stanley Black and Decker. So here's what you said. Nobody's making this stuff up. Here's what you said. Walmart will be absorbing some of the tariffs. Some may get passed on to consumers. Do American consumers pay the tariffs?
Again, Senator, you are cherry picking because Walmart makes decisions based on their customers. Two other very large retailers, and this is not an advertisement for them, Amazon and Home Depot, have chosen not to pass on tariffs. Matter of fact, we saw the best inflation numbers since 2020. So there has been nothing passed on. There has been no tariff recession. So no inflation, no recession due to tariffs.
So let the record show that once again, the Secretary of Treasury doesn't think American consumers are paying the tariffs.
What he's saying there is that Walmart is, and Target and all the companies that are going to be paying all these extra tariffs, they may raise some prices to pass along to consumers or they may absorb the cost. Honestly, if you believe that Walmart and Target and all of these other companies that are receiving imported products from overseas are going to absorb all of the prices, I have a beautiful bridge to sell you. It is right along the Hudson. It's gorgeous. It's called the George Washington Bridge. Won't cost you a dime, I promise. Trust me, the cost will be absorbed by the city and you'll get to have the bridge for free. So don't you worry your pretty little head about that. Scott Bessent, he swears to God, man, the price raises that are going on in the grocery store right now, don't even worry about that. That's not happening. Coffee's not going up. Price of beef is not going up. Price of bananas is not going up. Price of everything, it's not going up. Trust me, those companies are going to be absorbing those prices and you're not going to have to pay for a thing. Don't stress. And also, I just wanted to let you know that it ain't just me talking to you about how people are feeling right now. 75% of Americans report soaring prices as Trump claims inflation is over. Trust me, folks. Hey, you've been to the grocery store lately. Have you noticed anything really odd about how prices always go up and they never seem to go down? I mean, I'm just saying. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass over here, but Scott Bessent says that inflation is not happening and prices are not being raised. I mean, look, why don't we just trust our guy, man? Like Charlie Kirk said, I trust my president. I trust my government. Whatever you say, dog. Whatever you say. Okay, moving on. We got to talk about Pete Hegseth. Pete has been stepping in it quite a bit lately. A couple weeks ago, he did that whole channeling his inner Patton standing in front of a flag talking to all of the major generals out there. And honestly, it did not go over very well. Now, I know a lot of people cited the fact that the generals didn't get up and applaud for that. I mean, honestly, that's probably a good thing, but they are not allowed to do that. They are generals. They are here to be nonpartisan agents who are supposed to be doing battle overseas. And of course, you know, we had Donald Trump stand up there and go, we got the enemy within, and we're going to have to use some of these blue cities as test grounds to figure out how we're going to police these people. I mean, voting's coming up in 2026. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. But old Pete Hegseth, and by the way, I just wanted to point this out. This right here, the Washington Times, it is a very, very conservative paper. So he is getting criticized in a conservative paper. He lost us. Generals, senior officers say in trust. Hegseth has evaporated. Yeah, go figure, man. A fucking millennial douche canoe, third string asshat at Fox News, now turned Department of Defense head between, you know, bottles of Jack Daniels and beating or cheating on his wife. Now he's standing in front of a bunch of generals telling them that, hey, we don't want no fatties. We want good-looking, sharp, straight-edge men that get me hot and get me hard. And it didn't go over very well. Moving on a little bit more. Journalists exit the Pentagon rather than agree to the new reporting rules. Apparently, Pete Hegseth is having a hard time champing down on all of the leaks that are going on in Washington. And instead of actually dealing with it, which, by the way, Donald Trump's first Secretary of Defense, he didn't seem to have a problem with having all of these Pentagon reporters running around Pentagon asking people questions like, you know, reporters, what they do. And since Pete Hegseth is so unrespected throughout the military and pretty much anybody in this goddamn building, because like I said, he's a wife-beaten, alcoholic, third-string fucking Fox News host who does not deserve any respect, okay? Donald Trump picked him because he's loyal and he looks like he was straight out of Central Casting. Never mind, it's fucking latent homosexuality every picture that he ever takes, and he always talks about good, strong-looking, unified, Aryan, gorgeous, handsome, strong, rugged, muscular men. Okay, Pete. Would you like me to get you a little drink with a little umbrella in it, honey? Make sure you straighten up your tie and, you know, wear a little bit tighter suits just so the boys will notice you. But nevertheless, we see here...
It was moving day at the Pentagon today, but it wasn't...
We notice a whole lot of people leaving, all of these reporters, including Fox News reporters. It wasn't just Fox News. It wasn't just CNN. It wasn't just all of the major outlets. The only outlet, I believe, that stuck around was OAN and Mike Lindell's Lindell TV. Those are going to be the only people allowed in there, because if they do not toe the line and report what Pete Hegseth says that they should report, then they're not going to have access. You cannot go around and do your reporting duty. You have to run everything through me. So not exactly how the freedom of the press works, old Pete, but nevertheless, I'm glad to see that even Fox News said, yo, man, this is censorship on a higher scale than we've ever seen. They aren't even going to agree to that, so that's a good thing. Moving on with more Pete. Remember this picture? The picture of the National Guard that showed up at Chicago, and everybody gave them a hard time, saying that they look like Meal Team 6 or the Gravy Seals. Well, that bit of trolling that everybody did, making fun of the National Guard. Honestly, what they were doing was making fun of the National Guard showing up to Chicago because Donald Trump is trying to invade every blue city as an act of fascistic, dictatorial force. And Pete Hegseth was not very happy about it, not one bit. And he decided to send all of those guys on leave because they were all a little bit heavy set. So obviously, this is a really sensitive topic for Pete Hegseth. He's really serious about the uniformity, you know, the strong, muscular, macho, white soldier, and these brown guys and their overweight bellies hanging over their belts, not a good look. So Pete, yet again, overstepping his bounds. More on Pete. Pete Hegseth, Pentagon staff, now needs approval to interact with Congress. So now he's trying to police the conversations between Congress and their staffers and the Pentagon. He is doing everything he can to stop all of these leaks that are coming out. But the problem is that the more you squeeze, the more leaks are going to come out of your hand. It's like holding sand in your hand. You can't hold it. Pete Hegseth is under the impression that he can police and lock this shit down. And the more he does it, the more information is going to go out. It's like with the reporters not being able to do the reporting that they normally have done in the Pentagon. Well, here's the thing about reporters. They will find a way. And honestly, I think that not only will there be more leaks to those reporters who are not in the Pentagon, but they will also have to up the game of their journalism. And I think that they'll probably find more things, not less things, like Pete Hegseth wants. Just a little side note, Bolton, a national security advisor for Donald Trump back in his first term. Now, Donald Trump is really pissed off at him. I mean, like, dude, you fucking hired him, okay? He was a warmonger before you hired him. Everybody said he was a warmonger before you hired him. You hired him anyway, and you used him for a couple of years, and then you got rid of him, and now you're going after him because he said a couple of bad things about you, like what he's doing with Letitia James, like he's about to do to Jack Smith, like he's doing to Jim Comey. Donald Trump is actively going after his political opponents using lawfare. Well, here we go. Now, the problem with Bolton is that what he did is illegal. And it should be prosecuted, but Donald Trump is doing it as a kind of a little test case. It's like, let's go after the one that is the most criminal. That way we can make the public used to the idea that I go after my political opponents. I mean, he went after John Bolton the first time, this guy looking like the fucking evil Lorax with that ridiculous mustache, and nobody likes him. Nobody on the Republican side and nobody on the Democrat side likes him. So everybody's kind of keeping mum about it. And this is going to go through. Now, do I think that John Bolton actually did something that is worthy of criminal prosecution in jail? Yeah, I kind of do. But I think that he should have been criminally prosecuted for the whole Abu Ghraib thing and all the shit that went on in the Iraq war, as opposed to waiting for this. And like I said, Donald Trump is planning on using this as an excuse to say, hey, I'm going after this guy right now. And when I go after the next one, that last one is going to justify it. So going after John Bolton is going to justify me going after Jack Smith or anybody else that did the January 6th trial, whether it's Liz Cheney, who, by the way, not a fan of Liz Cheney. Do I want her prosecuted for actually doing an investigation on January 6th? Of course not. Do I like Jim Comey? All the fuckery he did in 2016, right before the 2016 election, that probably is one of the reasons why Donald Trump won and Hillary Clinton lost. I mean, Hillary Clinton did a lot of bad shit, other than the fact that she's a Clinton and that she didn't go to all of those swing states during her election. She just expected that she was going to win the vote and she didn't. There's a lot of reasons why Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. But Jim Comey coming out 3 weeks beforehand saying, we got to check her emails and all this stuff. All of a sudden, 3 weeks before the election, boom. And she loses, doesn't look good. So I'm not a big fan of Jim Comey, but do I want Donald Trump going after him because he's a political enemy? Of course not. That's just fucking ridiculous. So, like I said, going after John Bolton is a test case to see if he can go after other people. And right now he's already doing Jim Comey. He's already doing Letitia James. He's got, what's her name? Halligan, the ex-beauty queen that was in one of his contests, is now his lawyer. I think she's like a real estate lawyer or a tax lawyer. And now he's got her working in the federal government going after Letitia James and James Comey. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, am I sad about watching John Bolton go down? Not so much, like everybody else. But at the same time, he probably does deserve it. Moving on, we've got Carolyn, leave it out, darling, and she's of course on with Fox News. Now this was a Twitter post by Coach Tommy Tuberville. Dude, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you're a fucking United States senator. You don't go by Coach anymore, but whatever, dog. Anyway, I just wanted to show you this little clip just to show you how fucking unhinged this crazy ass bitch is. And she is like, what, 29 years old? with this position of power. And by the way, I just want you to watch her. When she starts to smile really big and start getting really bouncy, that's the tell that she's lying extra hard.
Fix this problem. And look, we have $0 coming into the federal government right now because the Democrats shut it down. So what Russ Vought is working diligently on is examining how we can fix this mess to ensure that critical funding continues, that we can get people paid. But the Democrats are making that very difficult. And that's why the president put out a statement this morning saying that we're going to start looking across the board at layoffs and at agencies that we feel do not best serve the American taxpayer, that may
stuff that I don't like, I'm going to go after the things that I don't like. Even if they already had congressional approval and were already paid for through the budget, I'm going to do a line item veto and I'm just going to cross it off because I feel like it's not very good for America.
They need to be halted or permanently cut.
So on that, I wanted to ask you about that because he mentioned Russ Vought in that. I think that came out about 8 o'clock this morning about cutting certain programs that they deem are not necessary. Is that real?
No, it's not. It is absolutely, completely illegal and unconstitutional to take away funds that have already been appropriated by Congress. But yet she's got a different opinion, and so does Russ Vought.
Or is that a negotiating tactic?
Oh, it's very real. And the Democrats should know that they put the White House and the president in this position. And if they don't want further harm on their constituents back home, then they need to reopen the government. It's
the look what you made me do strategy. I can't believe it. The Democrats, they might as well be working for MAGA because they gave me this beautiful opportunity to do all of this firing that I've always wanted to do, folks. I've always wanted to do it, and the Democrats are allowing me to do it. No, dude, you can't do it. You're not supposed to do it. It is completely illegal, completely unconstitutional. And, of course, you are waiting for the Supreme Court to just basically say, yes, you can. And guess what? They did. The Supreme Court said, yes, he can do line item vetoes. Yes, he can invalidate the Impoundment Control Act, thereby going back behind Congress's back and getting rid of stuff that he doesn't want to. So whether it's constitutional or not, he's got the Supreme Court on his side. They're kissing his ass and they're doing everything that they want because they want to maintain legitimacy, and it's pretty goddamn pathetic. Unfortunately, we have mouthpieces like Carolyn Leavitt who are just ready, willing, and able to say every lie under the sun to protect the president. And it's working. Now, of course, I will say this caveat that the press secretary is the biggest liar in Washington because she's got to cover for the lies of everybody, including the president. So he picked a good one in Carolyn Leavitt. Of course, you know, she's not very good liar. Her lies are pretty transparent, made out of cellophane, and you can really see through them. But at the same time, if you've got nobody in the press pool actually pushing back against it, I mean, if all you've got is Caitlin Collins out there and she's the only one asking real questions, you can just let her ask her one question and then go around the whole room talking to all of the other MAGA sycophants, you know, whether it's OAN or One America News Network or the Mike Lindell TV or whatever the fuck kind of news sources. You got Tim Pool in the press pool at the White House. Jesus Christ, give me a break. Benny Johnson, all of those guys. It's just insanity. So if you've only got one reporter in there, you can pretty much do whatever you want to and lie whatever you want to and not get any pushback. So Carolyn Leavitt doing her job, lying, leaving it out, darling, and lying her ass off. Okay, so I got another one here, just a little quick one. Supreme Court is skeptical of state bans on conversion therapy aimed at the LGBTQ kids. Basically, what they're saying is that there are certain states in the union, Republican states, red states, that are pretty much okay with conversion therapy, which is basically torture to the gay community. And there are some blue states that are like, no, we're not going to do torture to young people. If you are gay, you're born gay. If you're trans, you're born trans. There's nothing that anybody is going to be able to do to change your mind. That's just who you are. Let's just put it this way. If you were straight and they sent you to a conversion center to make you gay, Do you think that it would be successful and they'd be able to convert you? I think not, because you are a straight person. You cannot be converted from being straight. That is who you are. So now the Supreme Court is saying that in the blue states that are banning conversion therapy, that torture that you put on children, they do everything they can to make you feel pain and suffering for who you are inside. And now you've got the Supreme Court saying, we're thinking about not letting you guys ban it because, freedom to torture LGBTQ people, what's wrong with a little freedom, right? Jesus Christ, it's so goddamn depressing, man. The Supreme Court is just a waste of fucking space. It absolutely infuriates me. Moving on, completely different topic. We've got Governor Josh Shapiro. He is on with Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne asks him how he feels about AIPAC and huge lobbyists and donors, and Shapiro decides that he is going to give him a little shade, give Charlemagne a little bit of shade, because he says that AIPAC is influencing our politicians, which is one of the most obvious things that I've heard in a long ass time. Our Congress is bought and paid for, the majority of them, by AIPAC. That's why we are able to constantly continue to fund Israel's military to the tune of billions and billions of dollars every year to supply them weapons so they can blow up brown people. Meanwhile, they have universal health care and they have universal education and we don't. But yet we're paying for them to do their genocide. And Josh Shapiro decides he's going to give Charlemagne a little shade.
Bothered by that. I think we're all bothered by the amount of money in politics, particularly the dark money that nobody kind of knows where it's coming from. But I think, largely the voters, I'll just speak to Pennsylvania, they're smart. They know who's on their side. They see.
Little Q, anytime anybody ever says that the voters are smart, that is him saying the voters are stupid and I am going to use some propaganda right now.
I got voters who sometimes show up and vote for Republicans, sometimes vote for Democrats. They get it. I think that dark money can pollute it sometimes.
Sometimes.
Can crowd out the voices sometimes. But
sometimes.
But overall, I think
honey, there is no sometimes. There's no getting around it. Large quantities of money trump the people. The American people want a lot of things for America that they are not getting. If they had millions of dollars to donate to politicians, they would be getting it. And the reason why I know that is because that is the system that we are swimming in right now. Large donors lobby politicians and they get exactly what they want because they brought the money. And the first phone call that they will take is from that billionaire donor, is from that AIPAC lobbyist, because they know on the other end of that phone call is a big fat fucking check.
AIPAC is the boogeyman in all of politics.
Code. It's code for a lot.
Yeah.
And it's what I said to you before. And again, I mean this with respect. I think in some ways it's a lazy shortcut. Mm-hmm. I think it's more important that folks are being forced to answer questions about what they see.
That was the whole point of this, is that he was criticizing Charlemagne for saying that if you're taking AIPAC money, you are bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby and you're going to do whatever that they want you to do, which has kind of played out because we're still funding Israel to the tune of billions of dollars worth of weapons to kill Palestinians in Gaza. And he's saying, oh, well, that's a little lazy, that's just, that's kind of pejorative. I'm sorry. Did I offend you? Are your feelings hurt? Dude, man, if you were taking thousands and thousands of dollars in dark lobbying money from Israel, and you are either supporting or voting for providing more and more arms and munitions to a country doing a genocide, then yeah, man, I'm going to fucking criticize you. It is not a shortcut. It's not lazy. It's honest. And we need to get past politicians, especially Democratic politicians like this, because they are making excuses for taking large quantities of money from nefarious sources, whether they be dark money or out in the open money like AIPAC. When you are doing everything you can to give those large donors everything that they want, and meanwhile, the people are asking for higher wages, better health care, better education, less wars, you name it, gun control, or, bringing down the cost of goods and services and food and ending monopolies. There are so many things that the American people are asking of their political leaders to do, and they do not do. And it's only because they don't show up with a big fat check at a fundraiser to pay off a douchebag like Josh Shapiro. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to show you this. It ain't just AIPAC, okay? We've got the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. I know they call it AIPAC, but that is what it stands for. That is a very large chunk of change. Now, a lot of politicians are starting to get wise to the AIPAC thing, and they're starting to say like, oh, I'm not taking any money from AIPAC, no more. I swear I'm not going to do that. But then they turn around and they start getting it from the Joint Action Committee for Political Affairs. That sounds very vague on purpose, but that is a Israeli political action committee supplying money, weapons, support for the Likud party, for Bibi Netanyahu, and for Israel's genocide. So ask them the next time if you have a chance to ask a political official if they're taking AIPAC money and they say no, then you ask them, are you taking money from the Joint Action Committee for Political Affairs? I'm in the open secrets category here. I mean, this is the pro-Israel PAC contributions to candidates, 23 to 24. That is 1 year. Look at the amount of money. And just throw it out there. Over $1 million to Democrats, almost $2 million to Republicans. They're both bad, but Republicans tend to be a little bit worse. I just wanted to get that out there just to make sure that you knew it's not just AIPAC that is a political influence on behalf of Israel. It's also so many more, like J Street, Republican Jewish Coalition, Democrat Majority for Israel. There's so many of them, and you just need to be aware of it because it is running rampant in Washington. Okay, moving on. We got this one right here. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act at the Supreme Court. They're looking at it. The decision hasn't been made yet, but they are looking at it as we speak, and it's not looking good, folks. This right here, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, is pretty much all of the gerrymandering that's going on right now. Texas is illegally gerrymandering their state to give their state house 5 more Republican representatives in U.S. Congress. So they're doing their little fuckery, and it's not supposed to happen, but every 10 years when they redraw the lines because of the census, and they're doing it mid-decade illegally at the request of Donald Trump. And now the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is basically saying anytime any state wants to do gerrymandering to get rid of majority black districts or to centralize them all into one, which they have done in Texas and in many other Republican states, where you see this long sliver, strangely shaped district that houses all of the black people and all of the brown people. And then that has one person of color representative in Congress. And then the rest of them are all white districts now because you've cut out the black vote and the brown vote. This is politicians picking their voters as opposed to voters picking their politicians. And the Supreme Court is doing everything they can to make sure that any red state that wants to gerrymander can do that gerrymandering. I think there's a little bit more on this. Supreme Court left no doubt it will gut the Voting Rights Act. So it is. Not only is it on the table, but it's looking like they are going to. And in effect, this is going to allow Republicans to gain 19 more seats in the U.S. Congress. So no matter how hard we go out there and vote, now we've got to vote extra hard as liberals, Democrats, the left. We have to vote extra hard to overcome those 19 extra seats. Republicans are doing everything they can to maintain power in Congress so there won't be any pushback on Donald Trump. And Donald Trump can do whatever he wants. Right now, that's what we're dealing with. Congress is not doing their job. In fact, Congress is on vacation right now. They're not doing jack or shit. They're just out of Washington. There's like a handful of Republicans there to say, oh, well, all of this is because of the Democratic shutdown. Oh, go suck a dick, Mike Johnson. Seriously. What getting rid of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is basically allowing states to gerrymander the fuck out of their state. Even though they might have had a court ruling against them, they're going to do it anyway. And just to back that up, I just wanted to point this one out too, that in Louisiana, Mike Johnson's home state, they were ordered by a court, an appellate court, to redraw their map. They drew their map racially, where they basically made majority, minority, one district for all of the people of color. I believe that's the strangely shaped district that I was describing. That's the one that's in Louisiana. And it basically cuts out all of the black and brown people out of the state into one district, and then the rest of them are all white, thereby making it, I believe, 6 white districts and 1 black district. Meanwhile, Louisiana is like 40% black. So they should have more than one district. So an appellate court said, you got to redraw your racist map. And that has worked its way up to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court did knock it down and said, you can't do this in the terms of race. And so they regrouped and they redid their lawsuit, and now they're doing their lawsuit on political lines as opposed to racial lines. And to the Supreme Court, on political lines, if you have your state house is majority Republican and you want to screw over the Democrats, that's political and that's perfectly legal to gerrymander your state on a political basis. You're just not allowed to do it in a racial base. So this is the case that they're hearing right now, the one in Louisiana, which is going to be the predicate for all of the other red states that are trying to gerrymander their district. As long as they do it on political lines and not racial lines, then the Supreme Court is going to gut Article 2 of the Voting Rights Act and allow them to do it. And it does not look good, folks. And it's only getting worse with stuff like this. They've already gotten rid of one article of the Voting Rights Act back, I believe it was in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. And they were basically saying that racism is over because America elected a black president. So now there's no more racism in America. You guys are living in the year of our Lord 2025 with me, right? You realize how things are right now, right? I mean, we actually have a Gestapo going after brown people on the street. We're stopping and frisking people. We're asking for people's papers if they have brown skin. I'm pretty sure racism is still here. And nevertheless, the Supreme Court said that racism is over, so they got rid of one article, and now they're going after Article 2. And that is no bueno. All right, moving on. We've got RFK here. Now, this is an old video of RFK, but it's resurfaced, and it's pretty funny. I just thought that you guys would get a kick out of it. RFK once compared Donald Trump to Adolf fucking Hitler. Let's play this damn thing.
Beautifully, and your stuff is so fun. One of the things that you write so beautifully, and your stuff is so fun to read. But you write about Trump. Quote, the way that you build a truly vicious nationalist movement is to wed a relatively small core of belligerent idiots to a much larger group of opportunists and spineless fellow travelers whose primary function is to turn a blind eye to things. We may not have that many outright Nazis in America, but we have plenty of cowards and bootlickers. And once those fleshy dominoes start tumbling into the Trump camp.
Well, there you go. There is a fleshy domino right there describing 10 years ago what would happen with Donald Trump. He seemed to know a little bit something more back then, but now that he is in the administration, he seems perfectly fine being one of those fleshy dominoes that topple over for Donald Trump. Now, he was talking to Matt Taibbi, and I've got some issues with Matt Taibbi, but that was back in the day when Matt Taibbi wasn't quite so I don't know, Republican coded. That's a much longer conversation to get into about Matt Taibbi, but he was talking to RFK, and RFK was repeating back to Matt Taibbi what he had written. And he was also interjecting that Donald Trump is basically America's Hitler. And back then, before he was in the administration, he seemed to understand that. But unfortunately, that human leather bag that is a gym jeans guy that, like Mallory said earlier, that, you know, he did leave a bear in Central Park. He did chop off a whale's head. He does eat roadkill. He drinks fucking fish tank cleaner blue dye. He is a crazy dude that says that being circumcised and taking Tylenol does make you fucking crazy, and it will ruin you and give you autism. And of course, vaccines kill kids. Jesus Christ, I cannot believe that guy is in charge of our medicine in this country. It's absolute insanity, but this is the world that we're living in, folks. I got another little story for you. ICE's athletically allergic recruits. Basically, what this is saying is that they have lowered the standards. They're having a hard time recruiting more ICE. Now, look, there are plenty of racist assholes that are willing to take this job, especially considering there are probably some people out there that are looking at it as a very big opportunity. The government might be shut down, but ICE is actually getting paid. I don't know if the military is getting paid, although I don't know if I would have a problem with the military getting paid during a government shutdown, but nobody's supposed to be getting paid during a government shutdown. But Donald Trump's pet projects, including the big, beautiful ballroom that he's building, that's getting funded, and ICE is getting funded. They're getting their bonuses early. So, you know, so they won't feel disheartened about doing their fascistic job. But they have been having a hard time after the initial recruiting started. They've got a huge budget. They got $175 billion, more than most of the world's countries' military budgets is now our new police state budget, $175 billion. And they have had to lower their standards, meaning there was an age limit. They got rid of the age limit. So you're going to have, a 60-year-old heart attack waiting to happen, white dude out there harassing and haranguing brown people, asking for their fucking papers like it's the fucking Gestapo. Show me your papers! But they have lowered their standards so much that some of these guys are overweight. Some of these guys are having a hard time running. I've shown some videos where guys, they're wearing all this gear. They're not used to it. They're heavy set. They're having a real hard time chasing down suspects, looking like complete idiots, falling down on their faces, and they're out of shape. And it's because they had to lower their standards to get as many bodies as they could into ICE. They've got all the money in the world, but they're having a hard time recruiting, so they're lowering their standards. And there's only a handful of militant right-wing militias out there to draw from. And then after they get all those guys hired up, they're going to have a really difficult time finding more people. Now, of course, if you are able to get rid of all of the jobs and have a nice social welfare program for ICE agents to suck on the teat of, that's one way to do it. You just get rid of everybody's job. You got Jeff Bezos actually working on that right now, trying to get rid of all workers in his warehouses so he can replace them with robots. So when all those people don't have jobs, he'll probably get some more recruits. It seems like Donald Trump is actively trying to get rid of everyone's job. So why? So they can join the military or join ICE. Jesus, the world that we're fucking living in, it's lunacy. But unfortunately, ICE is having a hard time finding those Aryan warriors out there that are not 300 pounds and 58 years old with a heart issue ready to pop. Anyway, that's the show for the day. I'm exhausted. This show went way over, and I got to edit this so I can release it tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to get it done. Oh my God, it's fucking crazy. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I went as fast and as rapid as possible over the 100 stories that I missed over the week. I just wanted to make sure I got them all to you so you can be informed. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I would really appreciate it. I will sing your praises and I will dance at your wedding. Thank you very much. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you next time. You take care. Bye-bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.